Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, and I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this. We're back here for part 2 of Chaos Corner, live to tape 25 feet below the surface of the earth. Let me get a little crazy here. Let me lower the distraction. We don't want any copyright strikes. I don't own any of your music. This is purely for entertainment. I'm glad that you guys came back for number 2, part 2 of Chaos Corner here on Valentine's weekend. Everyone's with their amor. Everybody's in the love vibration here on Chaos Corner. We have an empty studio, but we're back here on part 2. Captain Lou Albano, Burt Randolph Sugar, a match made in heaven. A complete idiot's guide, bringing you history from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago up to the current day. Follow me on all social media platforms. Of course, that's here on Twitter, at Big Daddy GOC, and the GOC stands for the Guardian of Chaos. Hit that profile link. That'll bounce you over to the main page, the mothership, here on the Guardian of Chaos on the YouTube channel. Hit me up on Facebook, J Brony and Protigio Fidelis El Guardian, at Instagram, the Guardian of Chaos, and of course on all other social media platforms. That would be Rumble, Parler, Gitter. We're everywhere for the IWC, for you, the fans, giving you the information and the history of the Guardian of Chaos and everything from the IWC and the pro wrestling sports entertainment industry. Did I get that all out in without even taking a breath? Well, I'm glad you guys came back. Catch part 1. It's only 20 minutes. Like, subscribe. Like I said, tap that bell. Spread the word. We're having a lot of fun. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. And so we like to put a little parody and satire, bring you the facts, the research. That's what I do here. I consider myself a student of the game. I've been doing this for over 3 decades. So sit back, have a cup of coffee, grab some lunch, some breakfast. I don't even know what time it is, but I know we're live to tape, as we said. So we're going to jump off all those other social media platforms. We're coming back here to YouTube to finish this off. Part 2. Don't you dare miss it. All right, fans. We're back here for part 2. We were talking about, if you listen to the first video of just 20 minutes, the School of Hard Knocks, breaking into wrestling schools, choosing a good wrestling school, surviving day-to-day training is what we're going to get into, from student to pro and breaking into pro wrestling. Remember, as I said in the first part of this, it applies to 2022 as it did to 2000, as it did to 1990, as it did to 1980. So just remember where we're coming from and where we're dated here. A flashback, throwback, way back, although related back to the future to now. I mean, just a little pun on words. So that's where we were talking about other sports, from everything from the college football, pro football, to all the stars, amateur wrestling, Hollywood, weightlifters, boxers. That's where we were. And now we're going to get on to a guy who was big in sports entertainment, one of my guys that I created my character after, a mentor. I happened to be able to meet him several times, pick his brain. Unbelievable. The legendary Wild Madman. Kind of like the GOC. Captain Lou Albano. And I'm going to give you a little bit of his story as well. Before we try to finish it up, we'll probably have 2 20-minute segments. This is the second segment. And this is good stuff, man. It applies. So sit back. Let me continue here. Captain Lou's story. My experience was a lot like Blassie's and Scolin's. After I had gotten out of the service, I went to Willie Gilzenberg, who handled 2-ton Tony Galanto and Red Cochran, and I told him I wanted to be a boxer. Gilzenberg said I was too short and suggested I try wrestling as a career move. Not incidentally, Gilzenberg was also part of the World Wrestling Federation. He arranged for me to train one-on-one with Soldier Barry and Arnold Skolin. That's how I got into wrestling. Quote from Captain Lou Albano. Lots of others were discovered from outside the world of wrestling, too. Take Terry Bollea, a.k.a. Hulk Hogan. You know him better as the Hulkster or Hollywood Hogan. He was playing bass guitar with a Tampa-based rock band when Jack Briscoe, who ran wrestling shows in the area, obviously, discovered him. And Bill Goldberg was on the injured reserve list of the Atlanta Falcons while he recovered from a painful pelvic injury. Say that 3 times fast. He happened to be hanging out in the Atlanta sports bar standing next to Diamond Dallas Page. Bang! Page suggested he try his hand at wrestling. The list goes on, and it's well aware of the whole Minnesota area and Grandma B's and all the different places. I think that's what it was called. You know, you see on different episodes, you go back and research on different podcasts and the history, and even Dark Side of the Ring brings it up now on that series. And then there are legacies. Wrestlers born to the black and blue, like Kerry and Kevin Von Erich, sons of the fabled Fritz Von Erich, and Bret Hart, whose father was the all-time great Stu Hart, not to mention Dustin Rhodes, formerly Goldust, the son of the legendary Dusty Rhodes, and of course the Samoan Dynasty. Do you got what it takes? I thought I did in '84. What? Getting discovered is one way to get into wrestling, but most of today's wrestlers, and yesterday's for that matter, came to the sport through the wrestling school, which I covered a lot of, including Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling and the Paradise 4 in the first 20-minute segment here on part 1. We're here in part 2, live to tape, down in the bunker. I don't want to get flagged for that either in this day and age. Let me not get on the soapbox of what's happening in today's current climate. I'm trying to bring you entertainment. And we're talking about getting discovered in wrestling schools. And there's no better way to really than to pass through the portals of what can be called Cauliflower State University. I'll get off into some sidebars too. Taking a fall correctly isn't easy to learn. Witness the International Boxing Federation's middleweight championship match between Bernard Hopkins and Robert Allen in August of 1998. The two opponents were in a clinch when the ref, Miles Lane, tried to break them up. He inadvertently shoved Hopkins, whose momentum carried him through the ropes and onto the floor below. I remember it like yesterday. Hopkins fell heavily, injured his ankle, and was unable to continue. After the fight, Hopkins himself said, "If I was a wrestler, I'd known how to fall, but I'm a boxer, so I don't." And we have one of the best fallers in the history of the World Wrestling Federation, perhaps in pro wrestling. And that would be one Mario Mancini. That's where you start out on Monday nights in his class. Do the research, fans. I'm just bringing you the facts. You can say what you want. You leave the comment section. It's okay, man. I'm stating the facts and bringing you the facts. So you want to be a wrestler? Okay. Kick back. Not going anywhere. Well, let me tell you, it ain't for no wimps. Like, I could tell you that. You have to have athletic ability, some skills, and above all else, you have to be in good shape and be able to take punishment. Not that you have to be built like a brick skyscraper, but you do have to be in reasonably good condition. Otherwise, the school might turn you down. After all, they don't want someone who'll get into their rowing machines and sink them, if you know what I mean. In other words, get in the ring and hurt people or get hurt. Several schools will give you a look-see, a session of rope work, calisthenics, and workouts to find if you're in good enough shape to take on their intensive program. They want to know if you can handle their hard time. If you've got the ability and agility to see it through without jeopardizing yourself or your health, you get where I'm going. So if you're really, really serious about pursuing a career in professional wrestling, and if you're in good shape, you'll want to contact a wrestling school. That's the first step on the ladder to becoming a professional wrestler, and not these people who claim they've trained, they've never trained, they self-trained, they don't have anyone reputable. Again, it comes down to research and what you have to do if you want to get into a school and learn how to wrestle. Not everybody can be a Mick Foley jumping off his house in the backyard, or some guys that run their own promotions because they're money marks. You guys know all the research and history. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm going to give you a list of schools from 20 and 25 years ago and some that I can remember today. You know that here in the greater New England, tri-state, northeast area, it's a hotbed traditionally and today with organizations and schools everywhere. You got to get out there. You got to network. You have to train. You just have to do it. You have to eat, live, sleep, repeat. Pretty simple. Training. We talk about different schools. We'll go back to the Institute of Professional Wrestling that was in Maryland. Of course, Killer Kowalski and his wrestling school that was in Reading, Massachusetts. Ivan Koloff had a wrestling school in Charlotte, North Carolina. Main Event Pro Wrestling Camp was in Cincinnati. The Walenko Wrestling School in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Monster Factory in New Jersey, as we've talked about. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling in Connecticut, East Haven. The School of Hard Knocks in San Bernardino. Of course, we know the Samoans also have a school out there in California. Mike Shaw Wrestling School. Remember Mike Shaw as a jobber, enhancement talent, veteran, whatever you want to call him from the WWF. That was in Mississippi. Skull Crusher was in Gulf Breeze, Florida. Slammers Wrestling Gym in Studio City, California. The Spoilers Wrestling Academy in Tampa, Florida. Remember, I'm going back over 2 decades ago. Superstar Pro Wrestling Camp in Hayward, California, and of course the Wild Samoan Pro Wrestling Center, which at that point was at Whitehall, Pennsylvania, and they still have schools today, as I said. And currently, we talked about the Dudley Boys camps, and I know Booker T, who worked for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and Dieselmania 2 has a school down in Texas, Reality of Wrestling. And I know Jimmy Valiant, obviously the legendary handsome Jimmy Valiant, has a school in Shawsville, Virginia. I can go on and on with reputable schools that are in the area. WrestlePro also has a school in Long Island. Let me sit here and think a little bit. I mean, there's training camps at GCW in Florida. I know Gangrel is running something down in Florida that I just alluded to. I mean, there's literally schools, but you have to do your research, and then you have to get there and go through the training to see if you have what it takes. And that's what happened to me the first time I went to a wrestling school. Everyone from Gino Caruso's to Iron Mike Sharp to Johnny Rods, trained at all those different schools, but originally under Tony Altomore and Mario Mancini and the boys down there at the Quest. And man, let me tell you, I wasn't ready at that time, that's for sure. 1984. Didn't make my pro wrestling manager debut until 91, 92 era. So you get what I'm talking about. Who would know better than the Guardian of Chaos about this? Not a lot. So we talk about those different schools. Check around. As I said, do your homework. Find out the school facilities. Take a visit, the trainers, the staff, the graduates. I said it already in part 1. In other words, check the credentials. You do that in life with people, don't you? For a job, for a car, for anything, an apartment, a house, right? That's what you do. So why wouldn't you do it here? Come on, guys. Wake up, America. Wake up, wrestling students. Wake up, IWC. Wake up, Chaos Corner fans. Above all else, look for a school that fits your budget and your schedule. Listen, schools can be expensive. I'm going to talk real facts. Some people will work out payments with you. Some people you can do in installments. Some want it up front. Some guarantee things. That's why it's really important. Schools can cost, on the low end, $2,000, $3,000. On the high end, 5 or 6. You're not going to be in and out in 2 weeks. It's not a course. It's a commitment. Some schools have time limits, whether it be 6 months or a year. You stay on forever and you pay dues. There's different things in how you work it out, and that's why you do your homework. But it's not. I mean, I don't know any current schools that are probably under $3,000 to get into a school, and that's a reputable school. So if you're going to come up with that kind of coin and commitment, you better be prepared and you better know what you're doing and who you're dealing with. It's a very shady business if anyone knows, and that's why I'm bringing this to you, to try to help all the young guys out there and the fans as well. And if you're a weekend warrior, you're going to want to think about it too in your schedule and what lets you train on weekends and weekdays. And a program's going to take you, like I said, at least, even unless you're a supernatural from a Roma to a Holiday, it'll take you 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and you'll always learn throughout your career. I mean, each school, you're not going to get out of there and think you can get out of there unless you're super ability. And even then, in under a year, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, some people 2, 3 years. Some people, as you see, that have been released in the big time 5, 8 years. Some people that never make it to the big time and have been training for years, a la Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, before they even made it to the WWE, which is considered, and now we know that's not just a big time. There's many other groups that make a living in this business, especially during the independents. But look at how long it took them to get to the big time. And these guys are legends now. They'll be Hall of Famers. So that's my point. You need to consider your budget. The normal price range from wrestling schools, as I already alluded to, like the ones on the list and people I've talking about, and I even went low, is from $3,000 to $5,000 for intensive training. Some offer a free first session, like I said, payment plans before you go into the contract. Many will finance your tuition for a few months, interest fee, and have a basic charge with additional set charges per session, and ring time and different things and dues, like I said to you, and paying and being a part if it ends up becoming a show, of setting up, breaking down the ring. So a lot that comes in. You don't just step into the ring. It's not how it works. You're not a former NFL, MMA guy. That's not how it works. You got to pay your dues. Plain and simple. You want to find out how long this outfit has been in operation, a list of questions you might want to ask. A long established school will have graduates you can check out so you can get an idea of how good the program is. New operations are always risky. There's no track record for you to check. Who owns the school? Fred No Name from the local YMCA? He probably doesn't have the expertise you're looking for. It's kind of like the blind leading the blind, especially since Fred No Name probably doesn't know any more than you already know. Does the owner do the training personally, or does the school hire employees as trainers? Another great question. Many ex-wrestlers run training schools, and they've gotten years of personal experience to pass on to you. That's what you want. Not just some big guy who's never been inside an arena past the general seating. I know a lot of those guys. What level of experience do the trainers have? Is the guy never run a show? Is he a mark? Is he a promoter? Was he just a local guy for 20 years or 10 years? The guy who runs a local weight training course is fine to a point, but he's not going to know the tricks of the trade. You need to get in shape, yes, but you got to make it as a pro. You need lots more than that. What kind of contract do you have to sign? Is there an escape clause that will let you pull out of the school with at least partial refund if you think your training is below par? Very important. Who are some of the pro wrestlers that have attended the school or show up there for training? You're going to want to know about that now. Will the school assist you with promotional matters such as demo tapes? These are the things that I talk about in different schools that you join and what they provide. So that's very, very important. And what can happen if you end up getting in and doing well, and do they run their own shows, and will you be able to do live interviews and get on local cable shows, all of that. And anytime you get a chance to perform, whether it's 10 people, 10,000 people, you always do it because that's just more experience for you. So that's something that's important. They're at least important as physical conditioning. You need to get into shape. You want to pick a school that offers the total package, not Lex Luger. One where you will learn everything from interview techniques to developing a gimmick. I could have wrote this myself, this book. You know that, right? Hindsight, Monday Morning Quarterback, Super Bowls this weekend, and fuck the NFL. I don't want to swear. It's the first time I said it. I didn't want to. Now I got to put money in the jar for my granddaughter. Will the school help you relocate? And that's if you go to some place like the Nightmare Factory down in Atlanta, Georgia, who's a feeder to AEW, or you go to certain schools, when Gabe Sapolsky ran Evolve and how that happened, and a lot of guys that have been recently released, they have their own federations, and even guys and legends who are in the business who are still involved, like the Tommy Dreamer has his own school of hardcore. A lot of different ways you can go, but again, it's all about your schedule, what you want, what fits for you, how much money it is. School days, dear old golden rules on school days. Some have changed, some haven't. If you've taken the big step and signed with one of the wrestling schools, be prepared. It's no walk in the park. If you've got what it takes to cut the mustard, we'll see. You'll be trying to cut the mustard from day one. You see that, right? That was perfect timing. You can't make up things like that. I am intuitive. The intuitive guardian of chaos. And that's a good thing, man. Wow. Before you even enter the ring, you'll be subjected to a rigorous set of calisthenics to ensure that you not only fit, but limber. 50 push-ups, boom, 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 baby. 50 more, another 50. Limbering up exercises until you feel you can't do any more and your body's numb. And then there'll be more exercises, weight training, preparation, and more preparation, all before you enter the ring, if it's a reputable school. After all, any wrestling school worth its salt wants to make sure you're physically fit to survive what lies ahead of you. Just like Marine boot camp, there'll be times when you doubt you'll make it. I've been down that road. And almost half of those who enroll don't. You might as well shake hands with the guy standing next to you on that first day, because only one of you, according to the odds, is going to make it all that way. Although training and things now are much, much different. And this was long before there was ever MTV, Tough Enough, and so on and so forth. Once past the preliminary exercises, it'll be time for your first inside the ring instruction. In ring. This isn't going to be a mano-a-mano. It'll be instruction in the finer points of wrestling, like the holds. You'll learn the arm lock, the suplex, the body slam, etc., etc., etc. And you'll learn the most important element in any wrestler's kit bag of tricks: how to fall, the bump. You'll learn how to hit the mat or your opponent with your back, your buttocks, your hands. You'll learn to curl in your shoulders when you hit the ground, and you'll be taught these with painstaking care over and over and over again, rehearsing them to a free three well. Well, that's wrong. A fare thee well. Fare thee well. Remember the Chinese gymnasts in the recent Goodwill Games? Remember, this is over 2 decades ago. Remember where you are. Who was paralyzed for life when she dismounted from the horse incorrectly. In wrestling and in any other sport, martial arts, and we talked about that before, I said that, we'll bounce back and forth, you can practice falling too many times. It's your most basic stock in trade. Tugboat Taylor, owner instructor at the Tugboat Taylor School back over 2 decades ago, as I said, professional wrestling in Houston, Texas, teaches his students that there are 5 rules of wrestling. Roma only has 3. We'll let them out on one of the future episodes. Your opponent is, in fact, your partner. When you hit the ropes, hit all 3 at once or fly over. Make noise. When you fall, slap the mat to reduce impact on your back. Use the headlock as time to rest. You can add one more rule. Even if you never go to a school, Tugboats, Paradise Alley, or anyone else, don't try these moves at home without proper training. This is not a PSA. This is not chicanery. This is not corny. This is not what... Do you get it? Now you're ready to really get into some ring action. Try out all these moves and falls you have been practicing on your lonesome. Here's the time when the instructors will separate those who are candidates for the front of the Wheaties box. I don't know about that anymore. From those who belong on the sides of milk cartons. I know about that. He'll teach you the margin for safety for each hold and fall. How to look your mauling your opponent instead, or just gingerly lacing him. How to look your mauling your opponent instead of just gingerly lacing him. I said that twice. And how to take good care of your opponent, the most important thing. Remembering that you're only as good as your opponent wants you to look. I'll get on a little bit of a soapbox. In this business, the most important thing, obviously, and I know I obviously say that all the time, you have to be able to trust somebody with your body. More importantly, they have to trust you with their body. That's what it's all about. That's why the training, that's why it's so hard. This is why, and with the risks and the way the business is today, you have to really be able to know what you're doing. One wrong move, wrong fall, you're done. You're severely injured. You're out for a while. There goes your paycheck, your life. Who knows? That's the most important thing I've always said to everyone, not being a pro wrestler, but being a pro wrestling manager. I was thankful for being able to have people trust me with their body, and more importantly, for me to be able to trust them with my body, because we know it's not always that way, especially back in the day and on the independents. Today, it's a little bit different. So I wanted to talk about that. That's something that I consider to be very important. All this only for starters, okay? You still have a long way to go learning how to perform these moves with a very, very basic way, okay? You're going to want to do this with verve, application that appeals to the crowd. How to be, again, use the phrase total package. You can learn a lot from watching bad wrestlers. You know, the ones who look, I don't know, a little wooden. They might well be covered with liquid pledge. That's what you should cover them. Not forget about body oil. Watching what they do wrong can show you just how good you can be. While there are usually no official chalk talks, no seminars, no classroom discussion, and so forth, although today's business is different, your instructor will give you personalized lessons and even recommend that you watch certain wrestlers on TV in order to pack up and pick up your pointers from those who have gone before you. Call it postgraduate work, if you will, but it's necessary if you want to make it in the profession. Once again, like he did in part 1, here's the boy, my rather large, almost 15-pound Maine Coon, Emilio the boy. Amor, my amor, Emilio. He's down here lurking about. He's really like a dog. I said that in part 1 of this. This part's a little longer. Uh, when you're ready to graduate, most schools will help you develop a demo tape. Again, do your research against a fellow graduate to be. This will amount 3 minutes long since they're usually all the major organizations that have time to review. You're lucky if you get 3 minutes. I did that my whole life with videotapes. A lot of times they were way too long. It's not going to catch someone's attention. You got to keep it short. You want to keep it sweet and simple. And as I've always said, and a lot of other people say it too, and I've been saying this for years, keep it simple, stupid. It really is. Put out your highlights, your strengths, and move forward. Don't make it too long. It's just like a resume when you go to a job. Don't overload it. Don't expect a placement service. That's for sure. But when you can expect is when your instructor is wired into a major organization and can recommend the students he judges good enough to go on to the sport. For instance, and we're going back 20, 25 years, as I said, Jim Cornette was a regular contact with wrestling school instructions and checks them out and recommendations and prospects. And just like with the Nightmare Factory and guys that I'm associated with at Paradise Alley and people that still have connections, whether it be the Dudleys, you want to get into a school if you're good enough with guys like that can open up for doors for you if you're good enough and you have what it takes. And that's what I'm always talking about doing your homework. It's so important. Look at the Samoans and training there and their family legacy and the different talent they've helped. There's going to be people out there, if they're worth their salt, that are going to want to help you out. And I'm going to refer to Captain Lou, and this is also about myself. I started in small shows myself. One of the first after training, little local church shows. As now scouts from the major federations frequently attended those small shows and fortunate enough to be spotted by someone from the old WWWF. That's how things go back then. Again, the times have changed. Look what we're talking about here. We're going back over 2 decades and how pertinent it is now and how the business has changed. Different things going through Captain Lou's career that we were covering, starting small, when reality strikes, different things that you're going to talk about and that you will experience in this business if you haven't already. That was then, and this is now, as I said, about what we're talking about, this show, the previous show, and the current day. That was then, this is now. Times, they are a-changing. The stakes today are much, much different, as we know. If you're thinking of going into the profession and have the backing and experience of a good school, the payoff can be rich indeed. It's a tough life. We know about it. That's what we've talked about here in the first show, this second show. I want to thank you guys for being here and being able for me to impart this to you. It's therapy for me and passing on the knowledge that I have and that we've collected here and the people that I've learned from. This is what you get here on Chaos Corner. So I hope you enjoyed it. This second part was a little longer. First part, 20 minutes. Here, we're under a half an hour. I'm going to upload these in short segments on different social media platforms. Check those out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'll put the full episodes up on YouTube. Like, subscribe. Like I said, let's get into this. Let me wrap it up this way here from Chaos Corner, live to tape with your old buddy. It's me. It's the GOC. Remember where we are. Wrestling gets its talent from many sources, but mostly it recruits from wrestling schools. The right wrestling school will teach you more than wrestling moves. The school will prepare you fully for a wrestling career. Do your homework. Training schedules are often designed to accommodate wrestlers who have to hold down full-time jobs. To begin with, unless you're committed, as I said, athletically and where you end up, you have to start small. Nobody starts at the top. Remember that in life. The most important thing you'll learn in wrestling school is how to fall. Remember that. Most wrestling school graduates break into the business by working small local shows, the independents. Scouts attend these small shows, recruiting talent from the major organizations, especially now. The releases, Ring of Honor, WWE, all the different things that have happened, what AEW's doing, MLW, the NWA is back, all the different organizations that I said that are here just in this area, New England, Tri-State, Northeast. I can go on and on and on, guys. That's what I wanted to bring to you. We wrapped it up here. 2 parts, 2 shows, 1 day, live to tape. I can't thank you guys enough for being here. We kept it under half an hour. I hope you learned something. We're going to continue forward with the series. Stay with me. Again, all social media platforms. I can't thank you enough. I wouldn't do it, couldn't do it without you guys. I'll say that to say this. Don't you dare miss it. Stay strong out there. God bless America.